My husband's friend convinced him our kids might not be his and wants to do a DNA test, but if he really gets this done, then I want a divorce. Throwaway as my husband knows my Reddit. I, 34F, have been with Ken, not his real name, 37M, since I was 16. We met in school, as he was my brother's friend. We have been married for 10 years, have a 2-year-old son, and one on the way. Ken has always been my person, the one I can't picture life without, and I honestly can't remember not loving him. I grew up with him, he's my everything. Unfortunately, Ken has this issue where he takes on everyone else's feelings deeply. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but recently his best friend of 20 years found out that his wife has been cheating on him, and none of their children are his. Obviously, his friend is devastated and is staying in our guest room. He's a nice guy, life just has him down right now. He's started the process of divorce. The more time Ken spends with his friend, the more depressed and distant he's become. Our mornings used to start with me waking up at 6 a.m. with our son, making breakfast, and then, around 8 a.m., waking Ken up with coffee and some breakfast before dropping our little one off at nursery and going to work. Ken works from home most days, only going into the office on Mondays. I'd give him his coffee, he'd give me a kiss, and I'd head off on my happy little way. After work, I'd pick up our son and go home, where Ken would usually be making tea. I'd clean up afterward while he bathed our son and put him to bed. I thought this was life. It might sound boring to some, but it was my life, and I loved it. Our house was filled with love. We'd spend our nights cuddling, talking, and watching movies. We'd have date night once a month, take our son out together on Saturdays, and visit family or host friends on Sundays. You get the picture, I'm rambling, sorry. Anyway, for the past month, things have been changing. Ken is more depressed. I make him coffee in the morning and just get a mumbled thanks. I come home from work, and he and his friend are in the living room watching sports. Now, I'm the one making tea and bathing our son. Neither of them will barely talk to me. We don't go out on weekends together anymore. I feel like a single parent. I've tried talking to Ken about it, but I only get one-word answers. Then he stays up until about 1 a.m., which I know isn't super late, but I'm passed out by then. I'm exhausted, alone, and pregnant. I miss my husband. Yesterday, I came home from work, and you know when something just doesn't feel right? I went to find Ken to see what he was doing since his friend wasn't in the house, but Ken's car was. He was in his office looking up DNA kits for our son. I asked him why, and his response was, well, I just want to make sure all the kids are mine before I continue looking after them, as I'm not free childcare. This broke me. When I say I'm devastated, it's an understatement. If he thinks I've cheated on him, then surely the trust is gone. Is there any going back? Am I just being pregnant and hormonal? Would I be extreme for considering divorce? I could put the papers in an envelope with the results of the DNA test. I think I'm going to go cry in bed now. I had to take the day off work because I feel like I've just been gut punched. Update 11 hours later. Hello Reddit. Well, after my post earlier this afternoon, I cried and then read all your lovely comments. I couldn't be more grateful. I think posting about it here really helps for some reason. It's weird how telling complete strangers that I'm struggling with life seems to help. So, after my pity party, which couldn't last long due to being a parent, I called my stepmom and dad. My mom died when I was 10. They are coming to stay with me on Friday. Crying on the phone helped, although I'm not really sure they could truly understand a word of what I was saying. I've spoken to Ken, well, more like spoke at Ken, telling him that his friend has until Thursday to leave. I'm not a monster and can't just tell him to leave at the drop of a hat. I've also told Ken he needs to leave too. While yes, I could go to my dad's house, I don't want to disrupt my little one more than necessary, and all the things for my baby are here too. Especially since I'm 8 months along, it just seems stupid for me to be the one to leave. I've made it a point not to emphasize that it's my house either. I'm trying to be calm and sensible. I'm not 100% sure Ken listened, but I did message his sister, who is a force to be reckoned with, and she said she will make sure he's gone by Thursday night. The things I've told Ken I want include, yes, he can have the DNA test, but I'll be damned if I'm the one to organize it. He can also have one for the baby, as I have nothing to hide. I know some people have questioned why I'm so against it. Let me make something clear, I would never cheat because, as I said in my last post, Ken is, or was, I don't know, my person. He's the only man I've ever been with, so that isn't a concern of mine. I'm just hurt that he wants one because it clearly means he doesn't trust me. So, what do I want? I want him to have the DNA tests, mainly so I can make him eat the results, not literally, I'm just venting. I'm also going to suggest couples therapy. I already see a therapist due to losing my mom and my little sister in a car crash when I was younger. I want to suggest that he sees one alone, but you can lead a horse to water, and you can't make him drink. I don't want to force him to do anything he doesn't want to do. I want him to maintain contact with our son. Yes, he doesn't believe he's the father right now, but that's no reason to neglect him. He is his son, and I don't want to upset my little one. Yeah, he's only 2, but still, he deserves all the love from both his parents. He's done nothing wrong. And then, of course, the same goes for this baby when she comes along. I'm still not sure about the state of my marriage, but even if divorce ends up being the outcome, I need to be able to get through to him so he can be the father he once was. Am I going insane? Do I sound insane? I don't know why writing here helps so much. Thanks, Reddit. Second update 6 days later. Hello again. I don't know how to update posts, so I just had to make another one. Following my 2 other posts, I will answer some questions. Yes, it is my house. It was left to me when my mum died. I have lived here all my life. I didn't move out because I have a child and one on the way, so why should I be the one to leave? I understand that some people believe I was wrong for asking him to leave, but as I was heavily pregnant, have a toddler, and it's my house, I wasn't about to leave. Yes, he could have stayed, but have you tried living with someone who just wants to argue or not talk at all? I'd prefer my child not to live in that environment, thank you. At the end of the day, I'm a mother first and a wife second. If you think that's harsh, then I don't know what to tell you. My children come first, period. Well, Ken's friend did leave the day I told him he had until Thursday. He wasn't happy about it and shouted some insults at me, which was amazing, not really. Ken's sister came and picked him up. I wish I could tell you what she said, but she didn't say anything in front of me, she just kept giving Ken death stares. We did get the DNA test for the little one, and Ken is the father, obviously. Ken somehow thinks I intercepted the results, even though I wasn't the one who handled them, so he's clearly lost his mind. My dad came over, and while I was making tea, my waters broke. My little girl is here, she's healthy and happy. She was 9 pounds 8 ounces, so there's no concern about anything with her. I'm now a mum of 2. I'm home now, and Ken has been to see his baby girl. However, since she hasn't had a DNA test, he's disagreeing that she's his because his family doesn't have many girls, yet he has a sister, so I just rolled my eyes. I don't really know where to go from here. Ken is refusing therapy, saying there's nothing wrong with him or his brain. I beg to differ. He wants to get another DNA test for our boy but won't tell me when or where, so I can't interfere. Maybe one day, he will come to his senses. My dad and stepmom are staying with me for a while to help me with the babies. I'd like to say I'm okay, but honestly, my emotions are all over the place, and I don't know which way is up. Ken's sister visits the babies, and we have an unspoken rule that we don't talk about Ken, apart from when our son asks about him. I wish this were the kind of update where he got the results, realized how much of an idiot he's been, and we moved on, but sadly, that's not the case. I can't dwell on it too much, I just have to take things one day at a time. I do miss my person and worry that he's missing out on his baby girl's life already, which, if I think about too much, will just make me sit and cry, but I don't have time for that. As always, thanks for listening to me rant. I might update if anything else happens in my life. Right now, I'm still left wondering if I'm doing the right thing here. Is there anything I could do differently? Why are my kids so hard for him to accept all of a sudden? Third update 10 days later. Hello again, Reddit. Things have been bizarre, but now I have closure. I know what's happened to my marriage. I know what scum Ken really is. He's not my person and never truly was. So now I just want to divorce him, cut my losses, and move on with my life. I'm still at home with my babies, settling into motherhood. My dad and stepmom are still here, but they will be leaving soon once I'm more emotionally stable. To say I'm okay would be a lie, but I now know what I need to do. I have some sort of closure with Ken. I know what happened with him, and I know that it's not my fault. It turns out Ken was having an affair and has a baby on the way. Even typing that makes me want to throw up. I found this out when a visibly pregnant woman knocked on my door and asked me when I would be leaving the house, as it's Ken's house. When I say this confused the crap out of me, I mean it. I talked to this woman for a while to try to work out what she was talking about. It turns out that she's Ken's side piece. Well, technically, in her head, she's his fiancée. A month ago, Ken got down on one knee and proposed to her in my friggin' kitchen. Classy, right? So, they have been seeing each other for a while. She's having his baby. She believes I'm the ex-wife who Ken is letting stay in his house until I get on my feet. Apparently, we broke up a few years ago, and none of my kids are Ken's. When I go to work in the mornings, Ken goes to her house and works from there. They were waiting for marriage to move in together. How are you trying to marry someone when you are already married? Friggin' weirdo? I asked for proof of all this. She has pictures of them together. Apparently, she has an OF account where they make content together. I wanted to vomit. I told her we are still married and explained everything to her. I'm not sure what she's going to do. But hey, not my circus, not my monkey. Now, I want a divorce. Is it true that once you talk to a solicitor about divorce, they can't represent the person you're divorcing? I want to go around our town and meet with as many solicitors as possible since the first hour is free, so that he has a very hard time getting representation. Is that too petty? The house is in my name only and is protected, so there's no way he can take it. I have all my money, and we do have a joint account, but that's just what we put our share of household bills in. I haven't spoken directly with Ken. His family has completely cut him off, and he's been kicked out of his sister's house. To all those people who were concerned about him having a tumor or something wrong with his brain, I really don't think that's the case. I think his actions just caught up to him, as his lies were going to come out once his baby was born. I think that's what happened. He got backed into a corner and tried to fight his way out. Through the divorce process, I will get the court to do DNA testing so he has proof for both. Even if he chooses not to believe it. I'm mentally exhausted from all of this and am left wondering how I didn't notice. Might have to go for an eye test. But honestly, would I be so wrong for just making his life as difficult as possible when it comes to getting legal advice, or is that too far? I want him to suffer. Fourth update 1 year later. Well, hello there again, Reddit. I'm okay. I totally just forgot about my ramblings on here, lol. I'm doing okay. I'm officially divorced from Ken. It took a long time to get to this part of my life, and at some points, I actually felt like I was drowning. Both of my kids had DNA tests through the courts, and they are Ken's. He still doesn't believe it. Not my problem though. Ken is now in prison for domestic abuse. I'm not 100% sure about the details because I wasn't involved. It was his side piece. I'd love to say that I don't ever break down in tears and that I'm completely over it, but I'm not. I've now gone back to work though, after my maternity leave ended. I got a promotion and now I'm used to living with just the three of us. My kids keep me going, and I'm so proud of them. They visit their grandparents and their dad's side of the family, who have been so lovely and supportive. His sister is still amazing. I don't really know what else to say. I'm okay. I'm divorced, and my children are thriving. I can't thank Ken for a lot of things, but I'm grateful for my children.